Hi everybody, I'm just gonna wait a few seconds like always for everyone to join in. Hi Dhruvi, Rajesh, Kavi, Xenia, Arpan, thanks everybody for joining in. Hi everyone. So I'm feeling much better today, and even though it's really hot, I mean, I'm sure all of you are going through the same, but the heat is really draining off my energy. But today I'm much better, and I'm really happy to be doing the conversation with Khyati this season 3 with this next guest. I will tell you more about it. I'm just gonna wait a few seconds more for everybody to join in. Hi Ketul, Vishak, Drapshiks, Manju, Ahmed, Richie Rich. Hi, hello everyone. So now that we have like a couple of people already here, Sumit, hi. So welcome everyone to Conversation with Khyati season 3. This is the next guest that I'm bringing in here. This is one of my dear friends, and he's also somebody who does a very niche kind of training. I'm gonna tell you more about it. Thank you everyone. Thanks for joining in. So we talk about Indian mythology, so to say, but we're gonna really speak to the Indian mythology in a way that it's the Indian ancient stories, all right, so that we do not dishearten anybody, hurt anyone's feelings. This is not a religious episode at all. We are not promoting any religion. It's just we're going to talk about some stories. But more importantly, our guest for today is somebody who was an ex-banker, then took a U-turn in his career and thought he wanted to do something of his own, become an entrepreneur or become self-employed, and he started becoming a trainer. He trained himself to be a corporate trainer, and during that journey he also realized that the Indian mythology is something that he was really interested in, and he created a niche for himself where he started doing leadership coaching through these Indian folklore stories. So I'm really happy to bring him here. We've known each other for almost 6-7 years now. I did one of his first outbound events together. I was the host there. He's also an author. He's written a book called Break Your Leadership Chakravyu. So there's lots that he does, but today we are definitely going to talk about his journey on from becoming an employee at a bank to become a self-employed trainer. And then of course we'll take more questions from you guys. Any questions that you have on the myths and the mythological stories or scenarios that you know of or you've seen on TV, anything you'd like to know, he is an expert. So he will definitely talk to us about it. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, get ready. I am going to invite my friend and the spiritualist Rishi Nanda.
Hello.
Hi, Rishi, I can hear you,
Yeah, but
but
can
I'm
you
not
see me?
able to see you, and I'm getting an echo of myself.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out why.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, it was working. Like I don't know what's wrong, man.
Do you want to leave and I will invite you again
Yeah, do that.
if you can get that
I'll do that.
option?
I'll do that.
Yeah,
I'll do that.
yeah. All right, technical glitches happens when you're using tech. So let me re-invite Rishi here. Hello, everybody who's joined in. Thank you so much.
I can.
Rishi, once again, I can
Yeah,
hear.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why the camera option is not there. I'll just try one more time. Otherwise, we'll have to go later.
Okay.
Okay. 1 second.
Okay, no problem. Hello, everybody. Really appreciate your time that you're giving to this live. And I would really enjoy if you have any questions. We can keep it interactive and engaging. Rishi would be more than happy to take questions and clarify any folklore that you've heard of and not understood, or how that folklore can be used in your daily lives. There's learnings in a lot of these stories, which is why these stories were written and told and retold. So it'll be great to hear from him once we have this technical problem sorted. What is this live about? Okay, so let me put to context what this live is about. So since the lockdown began, I started doing conversation with Khyati, first with all my peers and colleagues, who are anchors, to bring in some tips and qualities that you could use if you wanted to become an anchor or a better speaker. And then it's moved on to getting more experienced people talk about niche topics, so which is why today Rishi Nanda is here, who's a spiritualist who brings out learnings from Indian ancient stories. So he's back here again. I'm going to quickly try and get him on board. Hi, everybody.
I really don't know what's going wrong.
I will try joining from getting Mehak Nanda
Yeah.
on. Huh? I'll try that. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thanks, everybody, for joining in. Oh, brilliant.
Brilliant.
I can still hear myself,
I can
though.
still hear myself though. Okay. But
Can you?
it's loud and clear. Yeah.
No, but
No, but
there is a lot of
there is
echo.
a lot of echo.
Can you use
Can
headphones?
you use headphones? We'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it better?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes, much better. Like, I can't hear myself. That's great. So welcome, Rishi. Finally, we are here on live.
My sincere apologies. Yeah.
No problem, no problem. Technical difficulties we are having all the time in some way or the other. So, but really happy. A lot of people have joined in already and are really keen to hear from you. So we're gonna quickly talk about. I've already given them a little brief about you. I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Voice is still echoing. It's not echoing to me. Guys, can you just give me a thumbs up if both our vocals are okay and you can hear both of us? Yeah? Okay, brilliant. So, Rishi, quickly, before we get into the actual questions that people really want to ask you, quickly tell me about, I know your journey, but tell everybody about your journey and why did you think of moving from being a banker, an investment banker, to starting something of your own, towards then the spiritualist that you are now? Give us a little bit about that.
Correct. So, I'll just cover it up. So, in 2011, I was blessed with a daughter. And the moment I
Yeah,
held her in my arms, the first thought that came to my mind, what do I give this girl beyond money? So that question started to haunt me. And then after a couple of
yeah,
months, I was working with the Bajaj Finance at that time. I was heading Bombay. I was in sales, for business loans. So honestly, there
yeah,
was no time for to, figure out an answer. But very
yeah.
quickly, I realized that I want to give her a belief system. I want to give her a
Hmm,
belief system that she can chase her dreams. But then
right.
I realized that, when she grows up, she'll tell me, you are asking me to chase my dream, but what have you done in life? You have just followed a corporate life and you're expecting me to chase my dream. So then
Hmm,
without having any backup plan, I just quit my job. And, I served the entire notice period of 3 months without telling my family members, even without telling my wife that, I've quit my job. And
wow.
last day prior to my, office notice period, I told my wife that, I've quit my job. And the reason is that I want to give a belief system to our children that they can chase their dream. But the issue is I don't have a dream. I don't know
Hmm,
what to do in life. So it
hmm,
could be a midlife crisis also. So I need to figure it out very quickly what I want to do, and then I want to chase it so that I can take away all the reasons that she can ever give herself for not chasing a dream. you
yeah.
know
Yeah.
So, and I told her, but you'll have more issues than me, because you'll be at home and voluntary, your husband does not want to work. And, and I stay in a joint family of 13 people. So it's going to be tough for you mentally.
Yeah.
But if you and please don't ask me what I want to do, when will I do all this stuff, because I have no clue about it. So, and if you can't support me, I'll go back to my job. My manager has asked me to think about it.
Yeah.
But then she was very supportive, and she still is. She said, let's do it, jo hega dekha jayega. And then I quit
All
my
right.
job. And then honestly, for next day when I told my family, obviously, my dad
Yeah.
asked me, you don't want to work, okay, what do you want to do? I said, it's a brilliant question, I don't have an answer to it, and I had to figure it out very quickly.
Yeah.
So we have a business. So my dad said, why don't you come to our office? It was a disguised employment. For those 3 years, next 3 years was the most frustrating phase of my life. It
Okay.
was really, really irritating, really, really frustrating, emotionally, financially, spiritually. Those questions started to haunt a lot 24/7. What are you doing? What is the purpose of your life? And all this stuff.
And
And 2013,
those 3 years you were working with your dad in your family business.
as I said, it was a disguised
Partially.
employment. No,
Yeah.
disguised employment. I used to go to his office, just sit there. I could not understand anything. So, and but they were supportive that, and my cousin was there, his name is
Yeah.
Kunal.
Yeah.
He was very supportive, think kuch nahi hota, soch kar, kuch dimag laga.
Hmm.
And 2013, I remember, after 2 years of frustration, I got attracted to a Bhagavad Gita CD.
Hmm.
And I just purchased that CD and I heard it for a year, and then one night in 2014, I got up with the thought, stating that get into Indian, ancient Indian history or Indian mythology, whatever you call it.
Hmm.
I took that leap of faith. And in 2014 is when I told my parents, I told my family that I want to become a spiritualist or a mythologist. They thought ये तो गया, पहले काम भी गया, अभी ये राम कृष्ण के चक्कर में ये तो गया, हाथ से
Huh.
गया बच्चा. But then I said कि you give me time, I'll pull it off. Then for another 2 years, I did not work much because I realized that corporate might give me one chance to make a
Yeah.
presentation, but I have to be prepared for it. So I read a lot of, I read concise version of Shiv Puran, Bhagavatam, Vishnu Puran, multiple versions of Ramayana, Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata. Attended a lot of sessions of, it could be Devdutt Patnaik, the Sadguru, Guru Gaur Gopal Das, many saints and all.
Yeah.
And then finally by 2017, I was confident enough to start taking sessions on that. And grace of God, it has been phenomenal journey since last 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is right now. But I think 2013 to 17 was the foundation of it. And then right now, this, as you mentioned earlier, and you were gracious enough, to even be at the book launch, so which Mehak and I have written, and we have written
Yeah.
a book of Break Your Leadership Chakraview. And so that's all about it, So my funda is God guides, I follow, but I just took a leap of faith on God. That's it.
Right. And
Yeah.
I think that's such a wonderful thing for you to do. I mean, anybody who wants to move towards entrepreneurship or self-employment generally have a very different perspective that I want to create something for myself or I want to become this. Your point
True.
of view was that I want to create a belief system, a way that, my kids can grow up and chase their dreams, which is such a wonderful
True.
thing to do. Like,
Thank you.
everybody's thinking about themselves while you thought that, what is the next generation going to take from me? So,
True. True.
so Rishi, now I know so much about you, so it's easy for me to connect to things, but a lot of people out here may not know so much about you. So I just want you to let them know that what all do you do? The spiritualist or the mythologist that you are is one of the things, right?
Correct.
You also
Correct.
train in different
Correct.
aspects in corporates. So
Correct.
could you just tell us about
Correct.
that?
So I'll tell you what happened. So a couple of my friends, one friend's name I would like to take specifically. His name is Abhinav. So I had
Hmm.
met him, when I thought that I want to get into Indian mythology,
Hmm.
and he gave me a heads up. He stated that you need to have modules.
Hmm.
A corporate will not hire you to just come and take a pravachan. Well, ऐसा नहीं होने वाला है. So
Right.
then we started designing modules, but then the entry was tough, because a lot of people thought that ये आके stage पे जय श्री राम नहीं बोल दे, या
Huh.
this could go on a religious forum also.
Right.
So
Right.
then we started designing a lot of modules, but the
Hmm.
corporate was giving us a lot of tough time initially. So
Hmm.
then I started taking trainings, So
Okay.
then I got Dale Carnegie certified. I'm
Hmm.
also MBTI practitioner for personalities, SSR. I'm also a situation leadership certified trainer. I
Hmm.
got into
Sorry about that. Yeah.
sales training as well.
Hmm.
And eventually I got into motivation and all. But then I
Hmm.
started using a lot of examples, a lot of concepts in those regular trainings, behavioral trainings and all,
Yeah.
from our stories, our epics specifically. and then one thing led to another, and then it started. So I do outbound training, I do take motivational sessions, I take sales training, I take leadership sessions a lot.
Yeah.
That is what I do. Yeah.
So I get really impressed every time when you start your mythological training, based on those stories, and you say this disclaimer. And every time I hear that disclaimer, I'm like, okay, now everybody's going to be happy and nobody's feelings are going to get hurt. I
Correct,
tried doing
correct.
that this is not a religious episode. It is not to
Correct.
promote any religion. But can you just give that
Correct.
disclaimer for everybody who's
So,
watching?
so I'll tell you what happens. Now, I first let me set the context. Like right now, so many
Yeah,
people are there online. So I'm not sure,
yeah,
whether you believe in God or you don't believe in God. So what I
right,
do is, and it was very tough for me because there have been times God has been grace where I'm addressing 2,000 people and 1,500 people. I don't know their religion. I don't know their belief system. So what I say is,
right.
I start all the sessions stating that, I would like to start with a disclaimer. And the disclaimer is, I'm not promoting any religion, thought process, religion, belief. It is just for understanding, expression, purpose. You believe Rama exists, you are right. You believe Rama does not exist, you are right. Whatever you believe is right. I believe Rama exists. In case you believe Rama does not exist, I'm sure we both can coexist. There are, in Shiv Puran, there's a line that states there are three truths for every story, every incident. Your truth, my truth, and the real truth. So what we are going to present is my truth. In case your truth is different, I'm sure we can have a discussion, but not an argument. So this helps me to connect with a lot of people, and then they are open
Yeah,
for learning, because I don't
I
get into
agree.
the factual part of it. We focus on the learning aspect of it.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
don't
Can
call
you keep your
myself a
mic a
historian.
little away? Can you
So I
keep
don't
little
call
away?
myself.
Yeah.
So is it okay? Now is it
Yeah,
better?
now
Okay.
better.
So
Yeah.
I don't call myself a historian. I call myself a mythologist or a spiritualist. So a lot of time people tell me, "Do you think it's a myth?" I said, "No, I don't think it's a myth. But this word gives me a platform to connect with a lot of people. For me,
Yeah.
it's important to share the learning of, it could be Rama, it could be Jesus, it could be Granth, it could be Allah, Prophet Muhammad. Share the learning is more important rather than getting into the factual part of it. So I quote
Right.
various, examples from various religions. So
Hmm.
that's perfectly fine with me.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So this is just to put it out that we are not promoting anything, but I have some certain
Correct.
questions for you.
Sure.
So somebody said I'm going to use that line. You must. And I take so personally, me and Rishi have spoken a bunch of times on this. Personally, I do not believe in all these stories to be real, but I do take it as stories that there could be a lot of learnings from it, and me and him have had a lot of conversation around it. So yeah, so if you have any questions, please go ahead and post them right now. Already have some questions to ask Rishi, so I'm going to start with that. So if you have to tell us that if you fall into a trouble or you are in a problem, who do you turn to?
Okay. So, so Kathy, as you know me, and, so for every question that you ask, there's a possibility I might share a small story. And,
Yes,
it will be
please.
from our epics, from our Vedas, from our scriptures, because I believe that people do not remember technical points. They
Hmm,
remember stories, they remember examples. So that is what they remember.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
let me take this question, and share a story with it.
Hmm,
So there was in Indian mythology, there was there was a Samudra Manthan.
hmm.
Okay. In Samudra Manthan, what happens? I'll just briefly cover the story, because if I start sharing that entire story, trust me, आपका 1 घंटा कम पड़ जाएगा.
I
So
know.
I'll just keep it brief. So in
Yeah.
Samudra Manthan, what happens is there are devas on one side, there are asuras on one side, and the
Hmm,
churning takes place. And one by one, all the articles come out of it.
hmm,
And the Samudra Manthan gets stalled for thrice. Once is when the zehar comes out of it, the poison comes out of it, and no one is ready to take the poison. So
hmm,
भोलेनाथ आते हैं, वो poison को लेते हैं.
hmm.
उसके बाद अंत में अमृत निकलता है. That was the real purpose of the manthan. So
Hmm.
amrit is basically, whoever will take that amrit will get immortal. So my entire life, trust me, I swear to God, my entire life mentally got sorted when I understood the story. And my learning
Okay.
from the story was कि अमृत जो है वो जहर के बाद ही मिलता है. वो जहर पहले पीना पड़ता है, या वो जहर को
Hmm,
एडजस्ट करना पड़ता है. सो वेन एवर थिंग्स गो रॉन्ग इन माई लाइफ, इट कुड बी इन एनी एस्पेक्ट, इट कुड बी रिलेशनशिप, इट कुड बी फाइनेंस, इट
hmm,
कुड बी हेल्थ, एनीथिंग.
hmm,
ना आई जस्ट कीप टेलिंग माई सेल्फ वन थिंग, बेटा ये जहर है, इसको एडजस्ट कर दे, अमृत इसके बाद ही मिलने वाला है. So so that thought has helped me a lot. Last 6 years, whenever things have gone wrong, I've just told myself, ऋषि इसको
hmm,
हैंडल कर ले, अमृत इसके बाद आएगा. And I just move on. I don't know, somehow it just gives me the clarity that just stay on, Amrit aane wala hai. And
hmm,
invariably, trust me, God has been kind. I just somehow get what after the tough phase, you get what you
huh,
want. So yeah, so that's what
huh.
I talk to myself.
That's amazing. Now, there was another question somebody asked when I said that, we are going to speak to you. And so they said that what if, you are a spiritual person, but your partner isn't? So
Hmm.
then, because I know of you and Mehak, could you tell us that how did that tuning get into place? Because you were also initially not into this so much. And
Correct.
I'm not sure how she was initially, but then how did you all kind of balanced it out?
So see, my understanding is, honestly, I'll tell you, 3 weeks back, I think, one of my group member, WhatsApp group member called me and said that, Rishi, I'm getting attracted towards spirituality. I'm
Hmm.
getting attracted towards Krishna consciousness, but my husband is not getting attracted. My kids are not getting attracted. So I
Hmm.
told her, see, it's a journey, it's not necessary where you or your partner would be. So
Yeah.
I always tell everyone, go with the pace, don't force yourself on anyone. It's really not cool,
Yeah.
but also don't get disturbed by them that they are not following what you
Hmm.
feel, because you
Hmm.
have a belief system, they have a belief system. It's a journey, and it's not a journey what I feel it's okay, 1 or 2 years. So I'll not be
Hmm.
philosophical and say ye janmo janmo ka journey hai, nahi wo ye janam ka bhi journey ho sakta hai, but
Hmm.
you are in a different space of mind, and your husband or your wife would be in a different space of mind.
Hmm.
So it's okay, you don't need to force it, and you can just follow on. And if you're
Yeah.
really spiritual, if you are genuinely spiritual, you
Hmm.
will never ever force, because
Hmm.
spirituality basically means live and let live. You connect with
Right.
yourself internally. You cannot force other people outside.
Right. So adding just on to that same question, Rishi, do you think that people need to be religious if they want to be spiritual?
So I'll give you a nice example, and I got this, when I was starting, I met a pandit, and I asked him, Panditji, I don't understand the difference between religious learnings and spiritual learning. There's a
Hmm.
very thin line. At times, I feel it's the
Yeah.
same. So the
Yeah.
pandit told me, "Ki, Rishi, if I tell you that
Hmm.
there is no light at the end of the tunnel, the
Hmm.
light is within you.
Hmm.
It's a spiritual learning."
Yeah.
I said, okay, fair enough. He said, but
Yeah.
if I tell you there is no light at the end of the tunnel, the light is within you, as per Bhagavad Gita, so and so, it becomes a religious learning. He said, when these religious learnings, so what is religion? First, let's, my understanding, I'm saying,
Yeah.
it is, if I'm trying to follow a ritual, if I'm following something, the do's and don'ts, it becomes religious.
Hmm.
Spirituality is to each its own. I don't think so person needs to be religious to become spiritual. But if
Hmm.
you are religious, you read these books, I think you'll
Hmm.
understand better. You'll understand better. So one of the video that I recently shot, was on Bhagavad Gita, Quran, Bible. What is the purpose of this book? So it's
Hmm.
basically that, when you buy a cell phone, let's say I think you're using an iPhone. So when
Yeah.
you buy a phone, you get a lot of stuff with it, like earphone,
Hmm.
scratch guard, and all those things. So
Yeah.
people will use that, but you also get a manual. And a lot of people
Yeah.
do not read that manual. But in case they have any problem with the phone, or they want to understand the features of the phone, they will call their friend. They'll go to
Right.
YouTube, they will Google, but they will not read the manual. But the
Right.
manual is there with you in all the languages. So
Hmm.
similar is all these scriptures. These are the
Hmm.
manuals for life. If I read it, I might understand life
Yeah.
quickly and better. If not,
Yeah.
I'll still figure out the same. So it's just that someone has done the homework for you. So if you read it, it's okay. Otherwise, you'll figure out the same at the end. So
Yeah.
to be honest, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. So I believe in God. I genuinely believe in God. But if you ask me, do I go to temple every day? I don't think so. I do that. But yes, I
Hmm.
think of God every moment of my life. So
Hmm.
everyone have their own definition. That's what I
Right,
believe.
right. Like, true to that. I mean, I believe in on a similar philosophy that these stories or these books were written for a reason to show us towards the right path. But
Correct.
people have kind of misconstrued it as the truth of life that these incidents did actually happen, and there is always going to be a debate about that. So,
Correct. Correct.
Dhruvi is asking here: does Bhagavad Gita help in changing life?
So I'll speak out of experience. In
Yeah,
For me, it changed me completely.
yeah.
So it's so I'm not saying I was horrible before, but I've improved a lot, I guess. So the
Yeah.
calmness has improved. My anger
Hmm.
has reduced tremendously. I think I'm more positive with respect to my thoughts that I have, with respect to
Hmm.
the actions I have. But
Hmm.
a lot of time, just one tip I would like to give on Bhagavad Gita or
Yeah.
any scripture that you read. A lot of
Hmm.
time, people what they do is that they will pick up a Bhagavad Gita, they'll
Hmm.
read 3 4 pages. Now they'll
Hmm.
not understand, and they'll keep the book. or
Right.
they'll start reading and then they'll have a lot of doubts and they'll feel, "Arey, mere bas ka nahi hai," and they'll keep the book. I think one should not do that. One should just pick up the book and keep reading it non-stop, because these books you're not supposed to understand. I feel these books you're supposed to feel it, and the moment you start feeling those things that are written over there, the verses that are mentioned over there, the expression that are there, you'll understand a little bit of Bhagavad Gita. Because the
Right.
doubt that you might have in chapter number 2,
Hmm.
it might get clarified in chapter number 14 or 16 or 18. So you have to keep reading. So I tell a lot of people, as an analogy, I tell them that अगर आपके पास एक छन्नी है, वो छन्नी गंदा है, गंदा है वो छन्नी, और उसके ऊपर कालक है, सब कुछ है. And if I tell Khyati, Khyati, do me a favor, there's a bucket of water I've kept at, on ground floor. ये
Yeah.
छन्नी का आप इस्तेमाल करो और 6th फ्लोर पे पानी लेके जाओ, वहां पे खाली बकेट है, उसको भरना है. तो ख्याति, कैन यू टेल मी कितना पानी भरेगा वो छन्नी यूज करके?
कुछ भी नहीं.
कुछ भी नहीं भरेगा. But because let's say it's like a roadie's task, I tell you, you have to keep doing it again and again, again and again. So let's say आप करते हो, but at the end of the day कुछ drops आएंगे वो खाली बकेट में, ज्यादा कुछ
Right.
आएगा नहीं. But वो entire process में ना वो छन्नी साफ हो जाती है. ओके, सो भगवत गीता और कुरान और बाइबल और ग्रंथ ना, वो हमारी आत्मा के लिए, वो हमको क्लीन कर देता है, हमारे थॉट प्रोसेस को क्लीन कर देता है. So on a lighter note, I'll just like to add it, and then we can move on. So someone asked me, क्या इसके अंदर सब लाइफ के सब क्वेश्चंस के आंसर्स है? बोला मुझे नहीं लगता है. बोलता आपको कौन सा क्वेश्चन का आंसर नहीं मिला? बोला हाउ टू हैंडल वाइफ. मेरे को बुक में अभी तक मिला नहीं है. So but I think these books will give you a lot of clarity.
Right.
The thought process improves a lot. So
Right.
I always tell them, वो छन्नी और साफ हो रही है आपकी आत्मा, और कुछ नहीं.
Brilliant. So there is Fahid who's saying almost about the same thing which we spoke about earlier in your disclaimer. He's saying, is there anything called a real right or a real wrong when it comes to mythological learning?
So I'll tell you, there's this very interesting line, while I was watching Ramanand Sagar's Ramayan, वहाँ पे राम जी को कहते हैं, and I've read it in many books, so I'm just giving a reference so that if people have seen it recently, they'll be able to connect. जहाँ पे राम जी कहते हैं कि धर्म क्या है? जो तुम्हारी आत्मा को सही लगे वही धर्म है. If your consciousness accepts your act now, so that is dharma for you. So I don't think so, ki there's right or wrong, because the perception changes, whatever, from whichever perception you see, it might feel right. So a lot of time, people, abhi jaise for example, abhi Mahabharat chal raha, it's the more, in thing. So we have grown up watching Mahabharat from the Pandavas perspective, and we feel the Pandavas were right and the Kauravas were wrong. But most of people would be surprised to know दुर्योधन का टेम्पल है केरला में, शकुनी का टेम्पल है, तो वो अपनी जगह से भी राइट थे. हमने सिर्फ महाभारत उनके पर्सपेक्टिव से नहीं देखी है. तो राइट क्या है, रॉन्ग क्या है, वो सिर्फ आपकी आत्मा को ही पता है. So, and just to give a very practical 21st century example, so let's say you're driving a car and you want to jump a signal.
Little away.
Okay, sorry.
Thoda.
So let's say you,
thoda sa away.
so is it better now, like this?
Yeah.
Oh, super. So let's say you're driving a car, and you're stuck at the signal and you want to jump the signal.
Yeah.
Okay, so now consciousness will say don't do it, but mind will say पांडु खड़ा नहीं है, हवलदार खड़ा नहीं है, पकड़ा भी जाएगा, 50 रुपए लगेगा, जंप कर दे. Your consciousness is actually telling you what is right, what is wrong. Now it's up to us whether we want to listen or no. So correct. I think to each its own.
To each its own. So true. So because we spoke about the current 21st century, and you said that let's relate to that. And right now, the current situation that we all are in, this pandemic that we are facing currently. So everybody's feeling a lot of negative emotions, right? Can you cite an example or a story from the epics and tell us how to move from negative towards being more positive?
So first I gave that Samudra Manthan ka, so that mindset. Second is, let's come back to this quarantine or lockdown. Honestly, there's a story in Vishnu Puran, and that is the first avatar of Lord Vishnu. So what happens is, very quickly I'll just cover that story.
Yeah.
So God created the entire, universe. They created nature, animals, human beings and all. And after a couple of years, generation, they realized that human beings are not living the way they were supposed to live.
Yeah.
Humanity is going for a toss, So that moment, the gods decide that we'll have to do a reboot, so we'll have to destroy the entire creation, and then we'll have to again start from scratch.
Yeah.
So for this, Vishnu avatar takes a form of a fish and comes and tells Manu that, you have to build a boat. आपको सप्त ऋषि और आपको 4 वेदास के साथ एनिमल्स के मेल एंड फीमेल जेंडर्स जितने भी प्रकार के आपको मिलते हैं, आपको जो भी आपके फैमिली है, फ्रेंड्स है, उनको आपको एक बोट में लेके जाना है. ओके, एंड उसके बाद आपको एक प्रलय आएगी और जो भी उस बोट के अंदर होएगा वही बचेगा और बाकी सबका नाश होगा. लॉट पीपल मेक फन ऑफ मनु. फिश कैसे बोल सकती है, तेरे को सपना आया है, प्रलय आएगी तो बोट कैसे बचेगी, सब डिस्ट्रॉय होगा. एंड लॉट ऑफ पीपल डोंट लिसन टू हिम. He keeps begging everyone, come inside the boat, but no one listens to him. And finally, the day comes, the D-Day, and he sits in the boat, takes the Saptarishi, takes the four Vedas, his family, friends, whoever believed in him, the animals and all. And then Vishnu Bhagwan comes. They have a huge horn, as a fish, and they pull the entire boat. और पूरी प्रलय में सिर्फ वो बोट के अंदर जो थे वही बचते हैं, बाकी सब मर जाते हैं. So that is where even God has tried to tell us that, when Mother Nature requires time to heal, just stay inside. और हमारा लॉकडाउन का क्या है, आज हमको प्रेशर आता है कि अभी जैसे मैं भी एंटरप्रेन्योर हूँ, काम नहीं चलेगा तो पैसा नहीं आएगा, इकोनॉमी कैसे चलेगी, but today we still have technology. We today is one of the most amazing civilization stage that we are. मनु बेचारे के पास कुछ था ही नहीं, उसको वापस से चालू करना पड़ा था. So that was I think it is mentioned in our book. So stay at home, and you're more than sorted, and everything will get back. So it is, and I think it's a very historic moment. It's a historic phase that we all are going through. Manu के बाद सीधा हम जा रहे हैं. So and I think we owe it to the next generation also to come.
Right, and I think it will also define our lives and legacy on what we do after this. I think it's a very historic moment which are going to be there. Yeah. So, okay, just going to quickly say a couple of comments that we've got. Mahabharata is full of grey characters, which makes it great. There's a quick question. Just say it in one word, Rishi. Is dharma a noun or a verb?
Is dharma a noun or a
verb?
किसने पूछा है? मेरे फ्रेंड ने पूछा है.
अभिनव.
अभिनव ने पूछा. So I have no clue, but I think it's more of a verb. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
It's an action, so it's a verb. Yeah.
It's a verb. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. So Dhruvi is asking, I think some people will possibly have this question in their mind because Ramzan is also going on right now. People are fasting, and in Hindus also we have couple of days and occasions where people fast. So she's saying, does fasting plays an important part in our life? Is it necessary? What do you have to say?
So what happens fasting? So what is the purpose of? So let me tell you earlier why fasting was done, and let's try to connect today also. Okay.
Yeah.
तो पहले क्या होता था, जो गर्ल थी वो चूल्हा ही जलाती थी, so full day kitchen में रहती थी और उनको टाइम नहीं मिलता था ज्यादा कुछ और करने का. So I'm just talking on both sides. Okay. So I'll come to the health aspect later. तो फिर क्या हुआ, फिर फास्टिंग जैसे आने लग गई तो उन्होंने क्या किया, किचन से बाहर आए, भगवान को याद किया और उन्होंने भजन गाए या भगवान की सेवा की. So that was the purpose, and they get a break also from the routine that is there. But आज की डेट में फास्टिंग का भी फूड आता है अलग टाइप का, so actually that is not the reason. Secondly, when you fast, so what happens is today also we are eating so many like what you call junk food and all, so the body also needs time to process and all those things. Actually अगर आप रमजान
like a detox.
Yeah, it's a detox. Ramzan रखते हैं, the body actually heals inside. So it's good to take a break, fast, but then please don't have non-stop fast food also. कि कोई सुबह उठ के साबूदाना खा रहा है, कोई fast foods खा रहा है. So the purpose is you fast and you connect with the Almighty. So that is the real purpose of it. That's what my understanding is.
Yeah, absolutely. So okay, quickly moving on to my next question before okay, a lot of people have commented Mehak would be in a better position to answer that question. I wish Mehak would come online. Missed out the starting, impressed by saying you have to have poison first to get the nectar. Missed out the context, but good analogy, which is so true. So, okay. I wanted to quickly ask you about this innate need that people have to, kind of move. Hi, Mehak. Hi, how are you?
Hello.
Good to see you. Will you join us and answer some questions?
So sorry, you were asking something.
Yeah. So I was saying people have this innate need or drive towards just working towards their actual or the prime needs. Do you have something to say about that? It's always about having more. It's the greed or something that we
I think
always
is in a better position to do that.
Sorry.
Sorry, guys. Mehak is an amazing person with a lot of knowledge and great vocab, but she's a little shy, so I think I'll do that later with her. So, Rishi, would you want to just pick on that point?
So can you just cover it with just
Cover
like
it again.
last
Yeah.
line? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, people generally have a great drive towards moving towards their needs, achieving their needs, or fulfilling their needs, which also kind of move towards greed. So how do people balance on that? Do you have like an
So I'll tell you.
anecdote that you can share? Yeah.
Sure, sure. I'll tell you. So this now I'll explain you with a simple example. So a
Hmm.
lot of time you would have heard of this word called, prem and moh.
Hmm.
So there are two
Hmm.
different, or sab log kehte ki moh, that is attachment that leads to misery and all, Buddha
Hmm.
has said. So let me give you a simple example to make you understand.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
so what do you mean by prem? So let's say I got a son, I got a daughter. I love them.
Hmm.
Okay, so that
Hmm.
means I
Hmm.
have that's prem. I got a son, I got a daughter, I love only them. That is moh.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, that is pure attachment. Similarly,
Hmm.
money. I love money. I want money. I will work for money.
Hmm.
Okay, so that is my requirement. That's a basic necessity. So that's love for money. But
Hmm.
because I love money, I will do anything for money. That is more. That is
Hmm.
that is greed. Like if I'm not getting an opportunity to work, so I'm ready to
Hmm.
kill someone, do a robbery or something. So that goes to the more aspect. Now
Hmm.
coming, so what happens is a lot of time people feel, how do I draw a thin line? Now that
Hmm.
is where if you are not content with what you have, trust me, you'll never be content with whatever you want, whatever you have in your life. You'll never be
Hmm.
do that.
Hmm.
First is accept that you have stuff, you're really blessed, and then whatever you want, let's say money also, the money is, I think, is the only exception. Jitna
Hmm.
ho utna kam lagta hai logo ko. Money is the only exception I feel. But I
Yeah.
also feel that if I'm earning money the correct way, it is
Hmm.
not wrong. But if I'm doing anything, wrong, so then it
Hmm.
would be, greed would be there. So my consciousness would tell me, because I would not like to tell people don't dream big, don't do that. No, it's not that, but you have to work hard for it. At least don't
Right.
do a robbery for that. That's the only thing. Yeah.
Right. So that brings me to that point brings me to my next question, that uh, how important do you think, or how our subconscious mind plays an important role in any given situation, whether it's a good situation or a bad? Like how would you say about that?
See, honestly, Buddha has this phrase where he says, everything begins from the mind. So I've
Hmm.
come up with a small formula that I use. So it is
Hmm.
called AIR, air model. So
Hmm.
so let's link both those questions.
Hmm.
Uh, so let's say I'm working for a target. I want to achieve a goal. I have some desires. I have some
Hmm.
dreams, and I'm
Hmm.
working towards it.
Hmm.
So now controlling the mind becomes a very tough. I genuinely believe, controlling the mind is a very tough job, but giving direction to the mind is relatively easy. I can give
Hmm.
direction to my mind.
Hmm.
So let
Hmm.
me give you a small story and then I'll share the formula. So
Yeah.
once I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
flying to Delhi and there was this, aged man sitting next to me and I was talking to him, like I'm a chatterbox, so I just keep talking to people
Hmm.
around me. And
Yeah.
we were having a nice conversation. But the moment the plane started to take off, he said, "Beta, 1 minute," and he started, praying. हाथ वाथ जोड़ दिया. And
Hmm.
then he's telling me, "बेटा घबराने की जरूरत नहीं है, कुछ नहीं होगा." मैं बोला, सर, मैं अभी तक तो घबरा नहीं रहा था, अभी मुझे घबराहट हो रही है, क्या होने वाला था? He said, टेंशन मत लो, हनुमान जी सब देख लेंगे. मैंने, चाचा, हनुमान जी का क्या जरूरत था ये टाइम पे, and I was just, I understood what he was doing, but I was just having some fun with him. He said कि
Hmm.
नहीं कुछ नहीं, ये प्लेन अब ठीक से लैंड होगा दिल्ली में. तो आई सेड कि हनुमान जी का क्या पर्पस था, सर, मतलब अगर आपको इतना ही कॉन्फिडेंस है हनुमान जी पे, तो हम पायलट को
Hmm.
घर भेज देते हैं, एयरलाइन को बोलते हैं हनुमान जी लैंड कराएंगे, हमको थोड़ा डिस्काउंट दे दो. इज लाइक, बेटा हनुमान का मजाक मत उड़ाओ. मैं नहीं नहीं, मैं भी हनुमान भक्त हूँ, हनुमान चालीसा सुना सकता हूँ, बट समझने के लिए. एंड देन ही गिव मी
Hmm.
सिंपल आंसर. ही सेड कि
Hmm.
जब भी मुझे डर लगता है, जब भी मुझे डर
Hmm.
लगता है ना, मैं हनुमान को याद करता हूँ, और मेरा
Hmm.
सारा जो डर है ना हनुमान के उधर मैं पार्क करता हूँ. And then we had a full
Hmm.
conversation. And then while again landing, he had that thought. And again he went to Hanuman. He parked his fear and he continued.
Hmm.
So I'm not saying कि सब लोग हनुमान जी को याद करो प्लीज, उनके पास और भी बहुत काम है. My point is that you can give direction to your mind. One can genuinely give direction to the mind, but we need
Hmm.
to direct the mind where it needs to go. So for
Hmm.
example, as I said, there's an AIR model, AIR model
Yeah.
that we have created. So AIR means acceptance, I
Hmm.
means identify, R means rectification. When things
Hmm.
go wrong in your life, first thing is accept it. That
Right.
something has gone wrong. The
Hmm.
moment you accept it, your mind will start becoming calm.
Hmm.
Then identify those areas where you have done a mistake or where it needs to be improved.
Hmm.
You know, Once
Yeah.
you've identified, then you can rectify. That's the R. So acceptance, identification, and rectification, these are the three steps. Now, why is it important to accept? Because if you're in anger, if you're frustrated, you'll never come up with a solution. Your mind is just running haywire. It doesn't make any sense. Only a
Right.
calm mind will give you a solution. And the moment you accept it, honestly, most of the time you're sorted in life. Acceptance is
Yeah.
very important. So I always tell people, accept the reality of life. So there's a line in Shiv Puran which stated, so when things go wrong, or your mind.
Yeah.
So there's a line in Shiv Puran which states that your mind is your your mind is your best friend and your worst enemy. Your mind is your best friend and your worst enemy. आपका मन आपको ऐसी बातों में यकीन दिलाते है जो एग्जिस्ट भी नहीं करती है. The
Right.
fear is more in the mind than in reality. आज हमको इतना fear है लॉकडाउन का, क्वारंटाइन का. अच्छा है हमारा मन हमको बहुत डरा रहा है. But trust me, friends, इतना खराब नहीं होने वाला है. The mind
Yeah.
will always tell us to go on a negative way. So it's better to give direction. So how do we give direction? If I can just take 2 more minutes on that now,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
a lot
please.
of people would require that. I
Yes.
feel. So so there's a term called man and there's a term called buddhi. यहाँ पे तो सब मस्ती में कहते हैं तू मन बुद्धि है क्या? ऐसे मजाक में कहते हैं. But those two are different terms. No, man
Yeah.
and buddhi. So what do you mean by man? Man means the mind. So how do we get the thoughts in our mind? Let's say we both are talking right now, or someone is sitting. How do we get thoughts? We get thoughts from our senses. What we
Right.
see, what we smell, what we hear, what we taste, what we touch. हमारे जो thoughts है वो हमको आते हैं हमारे senses से, those 5 senses. Now because of those 5 senses, हमारे मन को वो thought आ गया है. Now how do I process that thought is where buddhi comes into the picture. That is where knowledge comes into the picture. Correct? So now between the man and buddhi, I need to give direction. Now how do I give direction? Now this example I'm going to give you is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. So they stated that, the 5 senses are, as an example, those 5 senses are 5 horses. Those 5 horses
Okay.
report to a charioteer. That's your mind. Now your soul
Okay.
is behind. So the soul is behind. Now let's say let's say if I ask Khyati, Khyati, अगर आपको यहाँ से बॉम्बे से let's say आपको गुवाहाटी जाना है, ठीक है, हॉर्स पे, चैरियट पे, जीपीएस भी नहीं है, टेलीफोन नहीं है, कुछ नहीं है, ओल्ड टाइम्स के जैसे आपको जाना है, तो आपको कुछ 2-3
Yeah.
हफ्ते लग जाएंगे. करेक्ट? सो विल यू स्लीप इन दोस 2-3 weeks at least once or twice? You'll sleep or no?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You'll sleep, correct? So let's say you slept for a couple of hours and you get up and then your सारथी tells you कि मैडम मुझे पता नहीं हम किधर है, आप सो रहे थे और आपने मुझे परमिशन नहीं दी कि मैं आपको उठा सकता था, तो एक चौराहा आया था, एंड आई टुक ईना मीना डीका एंड टुक अ राइट टर्न. नाउ आई एम नॉट श्योर वेदर वी आर गोइंग टू गुवाहाटी और वेदर वी आर गोइंग टू कोलकाता. सो ऑनेस्टली ये फॉल्ट किसकी है? आपकी कि आपने उसको डायरेक्शन नहीं दिया था, या आपने उसको परमिशन नहीं दी थी, या उसकी कि उसने अपना दिमाग लगा दिया? पहला बताइए गलती किसकी है?
This is difficult.
Correct, but still
Maybe I didn't give him that access permission के खुद
Correct.
की
Superb.
knowledge से वो कुछ करे. हाँ.
correct, superb. So the lack of direction that you should have given him as a owner, he went haywire. This exactly happens between man and buddhi. The 5 senses, the horses report to your mind. Now, because you did not give direction to the charioteer, वो सारथी को किधर भी लेके चला गया. So what happens is you need to prepare. So what I do is I've prepared a list, So there are things that I have achieved in my life. There are things that I am doing in my life. And there are things that I want to do in my life. The moment I get a negative thought, initially I used to read that page, and just get lost in those thoughts. But now what has happened is over a period of 6-8 months, after a year and a half, now a negative thought comes, my mind exactly knows where to go and start thinking positive. So it's not that I don't think negative, but it has dropped down drastically. अगर मुझे दिन में पहले मान लीजिए 10 नेगेटिव थॉट्स आते थे, तो 2 या 4 आएंगे, बट उसके अंदर भी विद इन अ फ्रैक्शन ऑफ अ सेकेंड आई कैन मूव फ्रॉम अ नेगेटिव थॉट टू अ पॉजिटिव थॉट. And it also depends upon your intake. आप क्या सुन रहे हो?
Yeah.
So on a lighter note, I don't watch news debates at all.
Yeah.
Because what you take in is what you will give out. If garbage in, garbage out होता है, so you also
Right.
need to pick what you're going to, watch, what you're going to hear. See, mobile is a, brilliant app. इसके अंदर आपको भगवत गीता भी मिलती है, इसके अंदर आपको Tinder भी मिलता है. आपको क्या देखना है वो आपकी मर्जी है. Your
Right.
mind is just going to follow what instructions you're giving.
Right, absolutely, and so well put, yeah, Rishi. Matlab, I think it brings everything into perspective. I have another quick question to ask you that why do people compare age with knowledge? And what is difficult to digest that a young lad can also have a powerful impact on any given situation along with seniors. I think this is more of a employer-employee kind of a situation that, generally anybody who's superior senior in a hierarchy would think that they know much more than anybody who is working under them or somebody who's much younger
Correct.
than them, right? So
Correct.
do you think there is any comparison or any relation between age and knowledge?
I'll tell you, I got a nice, live story to share. So
Yeah.
there's this college called Sri Balaji Society, which is at Pune, and
Okay.
Grace of God, Mehak and I've been, going there for last 3 years, and we are teaching Mahabharat to 1,000 students every year. Okay.
Hmm.
So we
Hmm.
go there and we teach Mahabharat to them. So we are like stationed over there for 15, 20 days. Okay.
Yeah.
So when we went there for the first time, अभी मेरा नाम भी ऋषि, ठीक है? So so it was like every day the batch used to change, and they used
Hmm.
to have this poster where you will come to know which is your next session the next day,
Hmm.
okay, and who's going to take. तो
Hmm.
महक और मैं भी वहाँ पे फर्स्ट टाइम गए थे, हमको पता नहीं था, तो हम लोग फिर वहाँ पे जाके बैठ गए, okay,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
coincidentally the display sheet was there next to us only. So
Hmm.
couple of boys and girls over there, they said, अच्छा कल महाभारत है, कोई ऋषि है, अरे किधर से लेके आते लोग ऋषि मुनि को. मैं और मैं उनको देख रहे, अपने ओके, एंड बोलते अरे ये आके बोर कर देगा, अरे ये ऋषि लोग को पता नहीं कौन है, बाबा संत को लेके आ जाते, एक तो महाभारत है ऊपर से ऋषि. And so Mehak is like, you tell them at least you are Rishi. I said, no, let me enjoy. This is good. And then and next day when I went on the stage, so there were like 500 people sitting, and
Huh.
God, and I saw those girls and boys, and I told them, excuse me, मैं ही वो ऋषि मुनि हूँ, मैं ही वो ज्ञानी हूँ जो तुम कल इतना कोस रहे थे. So a lot of time perception plays a very crucial role in that.
Hmm.
Now there's this one
Hmm.
member who has said the young can be intelligent, but wisdom
Yes.
comes with experience. So,
Yeah.
but that is what is experience. Now, let's say, for example, Gautam Buddha,
Hmm.
okay, he got enlightened.
Yeah.
Okay, when he was in mid 30s, he got enlightened, correct?
38.
So it
Yeah.
is 38. Yeah, so he got enlightened over there. For 6 years he went into for that in search of enlightenment, and his
Yeah.
father later touched his feet, and his
Hmm.
mother became his disciple. So I think, but he's right. I believe that it comes with experience, but you cannot say you will get experience only when you're 70 or 80. So that is
Right.
something that I don't feel so. And nowadays, what another thing that I would like to highlight is, now, let's say, for example, my father's generation. My father's
Hmm.
generation. I'm just
Hmm.
giving a very random example. They're brilliant, they're intelligent, because of them we are here. But what happens is, at his time, the accessibility to knowledge was not
Hmm.
that much. They had to
Yeah.
refer books, they had to go call up people. Today, everything is on Google.
Yeah.
So I think it is your quench that you want to, how much you want to read, how much you
Yeah.
want to practice.
Hmm.
So this one last, point on this I would like to add.
Yeah.
When someone said experience, when someone said wisdom, when you say intelligence, now there
Hmm.
was this conversation that takes place between, in Mahabharata, there's this
Hmm.
conversation that takes place between Guru Dronacharya and
Hmm.
the brother-in-law of Duryodhan, that is Jayadratha. So
Hmm.
Jayadratha checks with Dronacharya and says that, how come Arjun is the best? Aap mere bhi guru ho, why can't, I do what he has done? Why were you,
Hmm.
like a way he's accusing him that you were biased to Arjun.
Yeah.
He gives a very beautiful answer. He says, Arjun is not Arjun because of me. What are you
Hmm.
mistaken? I gave the same knowledge to everyone,
Yeah.
but you were content with the knowledge I gave you. He was not content. He was practicing and he was, searching for more knowledge. But that is why he's Arjun. मैं उसका शायद
Yeah.
गुरु नहीं होता तो भी वो अर्जुन होता. So I think for us also, lot of time experience actually becomes a problem. Lot of time people feel I've done it and done that, so I don't need to do it.
Hmm.
So that
Hmm.
also becomes a problem. So, but honestly, it's good to listen to people. So I
Hmm.
have this line where I tell, every time I say, it is your duty to listen to people. It is
Hmm.
your duty to listen to people, but it is your right whether you want to implement or no. सुनना
Right.
तुम्हारा फर्ज बनता है, तुम मानो नहीं मानो तुम्हारा हक बनता है, सुन तो लो एक बार, सुनने में क्या जाता है, so
Hmm.
it's good, but I think it's a more of a perception.
Right. So you
Yeah.
don't think there can be any relation between age and knowledge?
No,
That's
I
what my
really don't.
initial question was. Yeah.
No. Mark Zuckerberg is younger than me, but I'm sure he's far more intelligent and far more wise than me.
Right. Right.
Correct?
Okay.
So
So
everyone will have their exposure.
so
Correct.
So I don't think age has any role to play when it comes
No,
to whether it is gaining knowledge or gaining experience, right?
no,
So
nothing.
a lot of people are saying great things here, and Ma- what is this? Mandubes has asked a question, but it's a very specific question, which is why I'm not taking it right now. He says, "Please ask Rishi what is the role of Parabda in our current life." Now, because our audience is quite diverse, they might not know specific characters
Prab,
and stuff.
pra,
Parabda,
pra, Prarabdha.
Parabda,
Parabdha. So,
Parabda.
Mandus, you'll have to first, sorry, my sincere apologies. This term, I'm not aware of this term. I'll be very clear. मुझे नहीं समझ में
Yeah,
what is this?
sure. Maybe the spelling is different, so he meant something
हाँ, नहीं,
else.
नहीं,
We
I'm
can
not sure
ask
of this
him
term.
to.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. So there's another quick question from Meher Ashwin. I'm not sure how to pronounce that as well. But he says that can you suggest some mythological books which has inspired you in life? Or actually, if Rishi, it'll be great if you can just some simple books where the script is simple to understand for anybody who's not gone into detail of the stories or of the religion or what it says, something specific, if you can just give out one or two
So see, I'll tell
suggestions.
you, I started off reading the Bhagavad Gita interpretation by ISKCON. Then I
Hmm.
started reading Bhagavad Gita of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So
Hmm.
those were very relatively easy for me to understand. And then I picked up various versions. So it could
Hmm.
even Devdutt Patnaik books are good. Even Sadhguru Isha Foundation, those books are good. But I genuinely feel, and I tell a lot of my members who participants who check with me, कि sir कौन सी book पढूं? I say
Hmm.
whichever book attracts you na, you start reading that book. Don't get much
Hmm.
into it, because I genuinely feel, I could be wrong, but this is what my grandfather told me. He said कि ये जो किताबें होती है, like a granth, like a Bible, or
Hmm.
the reader will never select the book. The book will select the reader. So if you're
Hmm.
getting attracted to any article, any person, author and all, you can randomly pick up any book, because at the end of the day, learning similar ही निकलती है. Interpretation could be different, but
Yeah.
what is your objective? If your objective is spirituality, then Bhagavad Gita would be of ISKCON, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is really good. But if it's from
Hmm.
corporate version, you can buy my book also. That is also pretty nice.
Of course it is. So yeah, that's a break your leadership Chakravyuh
मैं क्या था
and
वो? Yeah, please
break.
continue. Yeah.
That's okay. मैं भी मॉम के साथ ये करते रहती हूँ, मतलब मॉम यार प्लीज
हाँ,
दरवाजा बंद कर दो.
correct.
So
हाँ.
yeah, so in fact I would like to tell everybody that if you are wondering how to become a better leader or how to excel in whatever you do, that book has again stories from Indian ancient stories, but the learnings you can apply in your corporate world as
Correct.
well. So you can definitely go check it out. It's called Break Your Leadership Chakravyuh by Rishi and Mehak Nanda. I have one
So,
quick question again, which is related to Ramayana. So I'm going to quickly ask you this: that what why Ram Setu is called the Adam's Bridge? Okay, this is not part of Ramayana, but it is Ram. Do you know anything about it?
it is called Adam. Why it is called Adam Bridge, God only knows. But Ram Setu, Setu का मतलब होता है bridge. And because
Huh.
Ramji got that bridge made, so it is called Ram Setu. Now, because NASA would have felt that Ram Setu is not that good to say, so we'll call it Adam's Bridge. So so that's the reason, I guess. But yeah, so not much.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
okay. So I'd like to take that. Sorry, I'll just like to take that
Yeah.
question of Mandu's what he has asked now. So okay,
Yeah. Huh.
so sorry, I could not relate to the term earlier. But now I understood. So
Okay.
it means that the portion of your past karma is responsible for your present body. So
Hmm.
now karma is a different subject only
In
altogether.
fact, that was a big question that had come out, that according to you or according to the stories that you know of and
Correct,
learnt of,
correct,
what
correct.
is karma? What is
So
karma? If
I
you can just tell everybody.
correct.
Hmm.
So first let's go to the question of Manish answer, then we Mandu answer, then
Yeah.
we come over here. So
Yeah.
does past give you the body that you want? So if earlier, if you would have asked me like 10, 15 years ago, I would have said I don't know, and I really don't understand. But
Yeah.
when I took a deep dive into Mahabharata, especially
Hmm.
over there now, I got a couple of stories, which is with
Hmm.
respect to the Pralad, Pralab,
Pralabdh.
Pralab, Pralabdh. Finally, we got the
Huh.
Pralabdh. Okay.
Huh.
Now what happens is there's a एक आपने बचपन में सुना होगा, खुद ही
Hmm.
को कर बुलंद इतना कि हर तकबीर से पहले खुदा बंदे से ये पूछे कि बता तेरी रजा क्या है. और
Hmm.
इसका मतलब क्या होता है कि you should be so strong that God will actually ask you before writing your destiny and then give you what you want. तो ये
Hmm.
मुझे लगता था बचपन में बोला है, ऐसा थोड़ी ना होता है. But when I read Mahabharat and when I got exposed to the story of Amba, Ambika, Ambalika, so Amba is so there were three sisters, and Bhishma wanted them to get married to his brother, Vichitraveer, but because Amba had fallen in love with another guy, so Bhishma Pitama sends him back. And then there's a long story that takes place, and finally Amba gets a Vardhan stating that, in your next life, you'll be able to kill, you'll be an instrument of, the person who will kill Bhishma Pitama, and then she's born as Shikhandi. So Shikhandi is like like a half woman, half a man.
Yeah.
And then Arjun has to use Shikhandi to kill Bhishma Pitama. When I read that story, and I read a lot of stories about Amba and the entire process, a lot of aspects of Amba's life. Sorry, going towards Shikhandi, I got convinced to the core कि अगर आप कुछ चाहते हो दिल से, if you're convinced that you want it ना, ये स्टोरी के बाद जो मुझे बिलीफ आया, वो भगवान को भी आपको देना पड़ेगा. बट अगर आप चाहते ही नहीं तो भगवान आपको दे भी नहीं सकता है. सो आई ऑनेस्टली फील डेस्टिनी ना, जो लोग कहते हैं, एक बहुत सिंपल, मेरे को उसमें एक प्लीज कोरिलेट. ओके, एक बहुत फनी सिचुएशन आती है इंडिया में स्पेशली, एंड इट हैपेंस अ लॉट, इट यूज्ड टू हैपन अ लॉट इन माय फैमिली, एंड आई एम श्योर आपकी फैमिली में भी होता होगा. जब आपकी लाइफ में कुछ गलत जाता है ना, अगर कुछ गलत होता है, तो आपके माँ बाप शायद आपको कहते होंगे कि बेटा टेंशन मत ले, ये भगवान का ने कुछ सोचा होगा. When things go wrong, they'll try to pacify, stating कि ये भगवान की मर्जी है. But when things go right, do they ever tell you, बेटा ज़्यादा खुश मत हो, ये भगवान ने किया?
No.
They will never tell you. So I started thinking, कैसा भगवान है? मेरी लाइफ में जो गड़बड़ हो रहा है, भगवान ही कर रहा है, भगवान को और कुछ काम नहीं है. So then I realized that, at the end of the day, the situation is given by God. 100%, the situation is beyond my control. But how I react on, or how I respond on the situation, decides my destiny.
Yeah.
Now I'll give you a very small example. So let's say there's an entrepreneur, okay? अब वो entrepreneur business डालता है. After a couple of years, उसका business loss में चला जाता है. Now how do I, how are the people, how will people react on that? Some person might run away from the country. Some person might commit a suicide. Some person might declare himself insolvent. Some person might take loan and invest more in the business. Some person might, take up a job. The situation would be common for a lot of people, but how do you react? How do you respond on the situation? That decides your destiny. Your karma decides your destiny. नहीं तो क्या, अगर बैठे बैठे हम लोग बोलेंगे कि मेरी डेस्टिनी में लिखा है कि मेरे को अमीर बनना है तो बन जाऊंगा, बट लॉटरी अगर लगती है उसको खरीदना भी पड़ता है, वो भी आपका कर्म है. सो कर्मा एंड डेस्टिनी गोज हैंड इन हैंड. बट येस, luck plays a factor. Luck plays a very nice factor. I don't know if you saw, God bless his soul, ऋषि कपूर का एक वीडियो वायरल हुआ था लास्ट में, where he was at the hospital. एक लड़का गाना गाता है और ऋषि कपूर के वर्ड्स थे कि बेटा मेहनत करना, मेहनत और किस्मत ही तुमको सक्सेसफुल बनाती है. I think that was a brilliant, words that, the wise Rishi Kapoor gave, during his last day, that you have to work hard. And yes, there could be a luck factor. वो आप कर्म समझो, जो भी समझो, वो आपके मतलब में. But people should not give up. It's easy to give up. It's really easy to give up. But if you don't give up ना, क्योंकि इतिहास वही लिखता है जो हार नहीं मानता है. इतिहास वही लिखता है. To be honest,
In fact, that's also another saying, right? That luck favors those who work hard. So
correct. Luck favors a brave. It is.
Yeah.
Let's say you are doing such a wonderful job. I'm sure, there would be a lot of people who have told you not to do it. When I wanted to become a mythologist, a lot of people said, "Are you mad or what? तेरे खानदान में किसने नहीं किया है? Tell me one mythologist in India except Devdutt Patnaik." मैंने, if no one is doing it, so that's an opportunity for me. It's as simple as that. So it's tough, but I think जो मैंने कहा था, अमृत जो है वो जहर के बाद ही मिलता है. So don't give up, because I think you are running away from what is destined to you.
So
that's what
Rishi,
I think.
we have like 1 minute and 40 seconds left for this session to get over. It was so interesting that we didn't realize एक घंटा होने भी आ गया. So I'm gonna ask you one quick question, okay? So this is a fun question. You want to answer them quickly. If you could read minds, whose would you want to read? Whose mind would you want to read?
In a mythological character?
Yes, that'll be better.
Okay, so then I would like to read the mind of Yudhishthira to understand what made him, place his wife on bed.
Wow. Okay, we'll get into that some other time, because I know that's such a fun story. I've heard of it. So, okay, quick question. The kids are there? Kids are having fun?
Yeah.
Okay, here's another question. So, which of the following is Lord Kamdev's vehicle? Okay, I don't know. You have four options here. I'm gonna give you. Is elephant, eagle, swan, or parrot?
Elephant, I think parrot, if I'm not
Oh,
wrong. Yeah.
okay. Of course, how could you be wrong? Uh, okay, if at all, let's say Ramayana was made again, and you were given a choice of playing any character you'd want, which one would you choose?
Kumkaran. He was the most sorted guy. खाता है पीता है उठता है, रावण को कहता है गलत है, and then he gets killed, and he's like a devotee of Rama also. So I think
Brilliant.
Kumkaran is easy to act out also. I'll just sleep
Yeah.
on the set. Yeah.
Fun, 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 Rishi. Thank you so much. It's gonna end in 2 seconds, so thank you very
Thank you
much.
so